all know, Indonesia is one of the most resource-rich countries on earth. Tons of nickel, copper, gold, and you name it. For decades, giant global companies have come up to dig up that wealth. But what is really for those companies today? It turns out the rules of the game are changing fast. And to help us to understand it, I've got four incredible experts with me today. We have Joshua, our big picture strategist, Fred, our sharp business and number guy. We have Kelvin, our advocate for environmental and social issue, and Ernesto, our resident policy wonk. Now, Joshua, let's start with you. To set the stage, just how much things have changed.
Thanks, Badal. The change is massive. The easiest way to think about it is like a landlord and a tenant. For 50 years, a giant mining company like PT Freeport Indonesia in Papua was a tenant with an amazing long-term lease. The rules were stable, and they knew exactly what their rent and responsibilities were. But recently, the landlord, the Indonesian government, has shown up and said the old lease is gone. We have a new set of rules, and these new rules change everything.
Okay, new rules always make me nervous. Fred, as our money man, what's the first new rule that hits the company wallet?
Yeah, that's a big one, Badal. The first new rule for the landlord, you're no longer allowed to just dig up raw copper and ship it overseas to be processed. From now on, you must build a massive multi-billion-dollar factory called a smelter right here in Indonesia to be processed it all.
Wait. They're being forced to build a whole new factory they never planned for?
Exactly. We are talking about $3.7 billion project. That's a huge unplanned cost, and mining smelting are two totally different business. It's like telling a farmer you are now responsible for building and running a supermarket chain. And to make sure they did it, the government tore up the old stable lease to get a new permit, izin usaha pertambangan khusus. Freeport wasn't just forced to build a smelter. They also have to give up 51% of ownership to mine Indonesia. In short, massive new costs, huge new operational risks, and they're not even longer majority owner anymore. For investor, that's terrifying.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So the financial hit is huge. But Kelvin, you look at the non-economic side, right? And this is where the actually story gets really intense. What's happening on the ground?
Well, it's staggering, Badal. The landlord's second new rules is you have to deal with the mess you've made. And for decades, these mines from the Freeport has been dumping its waste, we call it tailings, directly into a local river.
How much waste are you talking about?
Well, according to official statement from the President Director of Freeport Indonesia, it's over 200,000 tons waste per day. Can you imagine it? It's a practice that is banned in almost every other country on earth. And it has motored the river ecosystem that damage the local forests, which are a food source for the local indigenous communities in Papua. Well, for your information, there are more than 200 indigenous communities in Papua can be said to still depend on natural resources and therefore have the potential to be affected by environmental damage caused by this company. For any global investor who cares about green or ESG ethical principles, this is a giant red flag, and it's tied to even complex human rights issues.
How so?
Well, this mine is in Papua, right? A region with a long-running low-level separatist movement. The mine, being a symbol of national wealth, is a target. And to protect it, the company relies on the Indonesian military. But the most important part is, human rights organizations have accused the same security forces of abuse against the local Papuan people. And this puts the company ethically in a very tough spot, tangled up in a serious local conflict.
This is so complex. Okay, so we have a new multi-billion-dollar cost, a massive environmental legacy, and human rights dilemma. Ernesto, as our policy wonk, how does the government enforce all of this? How do they make a giant company do all these things?
This is my favorite part, Badal. The government uses classic carrot and stick strategy, and it's all built on international trade policy.
Okay, what's the stick?
The stick is an export ban. The government says you will build that factory if you to just export your raw coopers, we will make it illegal. This is the stick that forced the company to invest to those $1 billion that money man Fred was talking about.
Can they even do that?
Not really. It actually breaks the rules of the WTO. In fact, the EU sued Indonesia for doing this exact thing with nickels, and Indonesia actually lost the case. But here's the genius part. Indonesia doesn't care. They're willing to lose the fight at the WTO to achieve the national goal of building a domestic industry. It is very bold and power play.
Wow, that is bold. So, what's the carrot that you mentioned?
The carrot is what happens after the factory is built. Indonesia uses its free trade agreement. They go to countries like China, Japan, and South Korea and say, see all this new valuable processed copper we're making, you can buy it from us with low or zero taxes. So the stick forces the company to build the factory, and the carrot creates a profitable new market for its products. It's complete end-to-end strategy.
This is fascinating. It's all connected one plan. Let's recap. First, they forced to spend billions on factory. Then they under massive global pressure to fix a huge environmental and human rights problem. And lastly, the government is using trade bans and deals to force their hand. Joshua, back to you. For the big picture takeaway, what does this all mean for any big company in Indonesia?
It means the old simple days of just digging and exporting are completely over. You can't just be a quiet tenant anymore. The landlord is now your majority business partner. Success in Indonesia today is no longer about being good at mining. It's a new balancing act. You have to balance, first, the government's powerful national goals. Second, the world's increasing demand for ethical and retail operation. Then third, lastly, and of course, your own companies need to actually make a profit. This balancing act is the new game, and it defines the future of global business in Indonesia.
Okay, a new balancing act. What a perfect way to end it. Joshua, Fred, Kelvin, and Ernesto, thank you for all making this so clear and fascinating. And thank you all for watching. See you next time.
No worries. Thank you guys. Thank you.
Alright.